Good morning.
Good morning, Blake.
A slight computer
Who
problem.
is that looking through the window? Is that Dan?
I think Mercury, yeah.
That looks so creepy. Let me hold on. Don't make him move. I'm gonna take a screenshot to send you what this looks like. It looks like he's almost like a little bit of a mirror, but like he could be a ghost. Oh man, he moved a little bit. I'm gonna send this to you because it looks so weird. It's like a scene from a horror movie.
That's funny. Let me see here. What can I drop or move here? I'm gonna move
like the ghosts that just walked by.
I'm gonna move a spot here so we can keep going. Yeah, a little bit of I think Mercury's in retrograde, so
yeah, I love computers, but what can I tell you?
Yeah. Sometimes so we're gonna come out at 7:27, so we'll have a quick abbreviated headlines this morning.
All right. No worries. Me and my crew over here are all ready.
Okay.
Start my feed just in case.
Like
robot voice again today.
I think your top headline should be Boris Johnson because I didn't get to cover it.
Yeah.
So, let me see if I have
trending this morning.
I think I have the news clip too. Let's see.
Good morning, everybody.
See if I have it here. News. Boris Johnson resigns. Let's see what this is. Audio.
Thank you. It is clearly now the will of the parliamentary.
Stand by.
Let me sing a little song for y'all while we're reading. Y'all are like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Morning, Sandy. How are you?
Morning, Blake. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Let's jump right into it.
All right. So topping the headlines all over the world today, Boris Johnson has decided to resign after 50 members of his cabinet and aides all stepped down in the last basically 48 hours.
That is big.
Mostly in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, that's huge.
This is big news that is trending all over the world. Everybody's asking, how did it all go so wrong? And, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, he survived a vote of no confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But as it turns out, in the long haul, that really wasn't going to make a difference. So his, premiership, I guess, continued to be plagued by a lot of issues and people were losing trust in him, not just from his party, but people say, generally speaking, those in the country as well, in the UK. So Johnson is out. His Conservative Party is going to try to stay in power by quickly finding another leader, and we shall see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aaron and I were talking about Theresa May. She survived a no confidence vote, but then she resigned about 6 months later, I think, when she was in office.
Right.
So,
yeah, normally it doesn't bode well when they have to even bring a no confidence vote against you. So
I'm sure you'll have more to talk about that coming up this morning on your show, which kicks off in about a minute on Bobo 89.1 FM.
Seconds.
And we'll see you tomorrow for the Friday show. All right.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, folks. Short one this morning because he was having some technical difficulties. It happens. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Peppermint, sorrel, ginger, fever grass, or English. Get it ready. Your morning tea just got hotter.
Ooh, honey child.
On the cold, hard truth. Bobo 89.1 and Cayman's #1 talk show are bringing you morning talk like no one else. Monday Rewind, Impact Wednesdays, Caribbean Connections, and much more. Don't miss a beat with what's happening in the local community. Just keep sipping your tea
What a mess.
Here's your host, live and direct from the Cayman Islands, Sandy Hill.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday edition. It is Thursday, July the 7th of the Cold Hard Truth. Good morning. How are you guys doing? Honey, chill. What a hot mess going on over there in the UK. I've been listening to the news since yesterday. I've been watching it. Boris is out. As of yesterday, 38 of his cabinet members had resigned. And by the time I woke up this morning, it was like over 50 cabinet members and aides. I'm like, wow. I don't know how many people are in his cabinet, by the way. It sounds like a lot, but when you have 50 resigning, over 50 resigning, as they say, the writing is definitely, it's not just on the wall. It is scribbled all over the house, honey chill. So poor Boris, he's out. It was time for him to go. Plagued by a lot of unnecessary scandals. It's so sad, really, because I'm going to just pull up the BBC News here because, of course, they're all over it this morning in terms of coverage, right? But this is just one of those situations where, you know, had he and his household follow the rules, he would have been A-okay. So I think this morning, let me just pull up what's going on here over in the United Kingdom, in England, motherland. It looks like, is he giving his little speech now? Let's weigh in. Let's see what's going on. Let me see here. Yes, let us have a look. Let's listen in. Boris Johnson resigns as leader of the Conservative Party. What a mess.
I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
The Prime Minister himself became seriously ill with COVID.
Alas, I still have one of the symptoms, a minor symptom of I still have a temperature.
He was admitted to intensive care and spent 3 days in hospital. A key ally throughout this time was Dominic Cummings. His unconventional style aggravated many.
Sorry I'm late.
And within a year of the election victory, he'd resigned after a bitter power struggle, clashing with Tory MPs and the Prime Minister's wife. He soon went on the attack, becoming Mr. Johnson's fiercest and most damaging critic.
He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't know how to be Prime Minister. And we'd only got him in there because we had to solve a certain problem, not because we thought that he was the right person to run in the country.
There were electoral losses too. The safe Buckinghamshire seat of Chesham and Amersham taken by the Liberal Democrats. Mr. Johnson faced an investigation over the complicated funding of a lavish flat refurbishment. And then stories started leaking about rule-breaking parties inside Number 10, while the rest of the country was in lockdown. After a police investigation, Mr. Johnson was fined for a birthday celebration in the Cabinet Room.
I've received a fixed penalty notice from the Metropolitan Police relating to an event in Downing Street on the 19th of June 2020.
Altogether, over 120 fines were issued to staff. A report by a senior civil servant blamed a failure of leadership, and Mr. Johnson was accused of lying about what went on.
I can announce that the Parliamentary Party does have confidence.
Conservative MPs forced a vote of confidence. More than 40% of them wanted him out, but he refused to go. The final straw was a chaotic response to allegations of sexual misconduct against the Deputy Chief Whip, Chris Pincher. Ministers were fed up with defending the indefensible. Conservative MPs had had enough. Boris Johnson won them their biggest majority for more than 30 years, fulfilled their dream of leaving the EU. But he was never able to translate his success on the campaign trail into government. Vicky Young, BBC News.
That was Vicky there, running through some of the sequences of events that have led to today, a Prime Minister with a majority of 80 seats in the House of Commons less than 3 years ago, having to say today that he's resigning as Conservative leader, being forced to resign. Let's not make any bones about that. And, of course, having also to set some kind of process in train to resign as Prime Minister when a successor is in place, though that is still a debate as to whether that is a course of action that lots of Conservative MPs and others think is appropriate in the circumstances, appropriate for a Prime Minister whose integrity and honesty has been questioned repeatedly, and is a big reason as to why the political world is in the state that it is in today, with this change of party leader and Prime Minister in the offing. Our correspondent Nick Eardley is with me again. Nick, I couldn't help noticing, as we look for the reactions of MPs to the statement that you and I heard here just a short while ago, lots of the reaction from Conservative MPs is, let's just say, disobliging. People don't seem to be impressed with the tone. They don't seem to be impressed with his determination to stay in that building for another few months. And they question whether this is a wise course of action. Now, do you sense that that faction is bigger than the faction saying that he's doing the right thing?
I think there's going to be an active debate over the next few hours about whether Boris Johnson will stay in post until a new Conservative leader is elected. That could take until September. There are a lot of Tory MPs who listened to what he just said there, didn't like the language, and that's added to their feeling of bad blood that we've seen over the last few days. They want to change a lot quicker than Boris Johnson does. It does just feel, though, Hugh, like this almost encapsulates what Boris Johnson's premiership has been like. It has been really divisive at points, whether it was over Brexit, whether it was over his personality, whether it was over some of his more controversial domestic policies as well. Conservative MPs for a while came out to bat for the Prime Minister. He was the man that won elections for his party. They could put up with him because they thought he was going to take them into electoral victory. That changed over the past 6 months. Partygate in particular just blew up this idea that Boris Johnson was someone that was good for the Conservative Party. There's been a growing sense of that over the last few weeks, as you just heard from Vicky. And we've reached this point now where the man who 2.5 years ago was political stardust, who delivered that incredible stonking majority for his party, has now been forced out by his own party. Politics moves extremely quickly, Hugh. I think it'll move quickly over the next few hours as well. We're going to be talking about who next rather than Boris Johnson.
Well, indeed, that is absolutely right. And yet we are still talking about what lies ahead for the next few months, because if he is there as Prime Minister.
Well, folks, what a mess. He's talking about it's sad to be leaving, in his words, the best job in the world. It seems like you might have had the best job in the world, but perhaps you were not doing the best job at the best job in the world. I'm just saying. Lots of people unhappy, including his own party members, and it just sounds like an epic, hot mess of a situation, really, quite frankly. So, headline trending all over the world this morning: Boris Johnson resigns. It looks like his intent is to at least stay put until they elect another leader. And as that gentleman there was saying from the BBC News, that could take months, taking them into potentially September. And so, he says, Westminster herd instinct powerful. When the herd moves, it moves. Has he taken any? He says, clearly now the will of parliamentary party for a new PM. I mean, is this man really taking any responsibility for his role in this? I mean, the parties and the dishonesty about that. And I think the latest straw was him actually appointing someone who had allegations of sexual misconduct against them. And he claims that he did not know. Wow. Lennon says the radio's off. Is radio off? Should be on. But you know what, folks? At the end of the day, this is why you always got to keep an eye on politicians, because let me tell you, they sometimes just, they can't be trusted. So, I don't know what to tell you, but we like to keep an eye on them. And I think it's one of those necessary things. I mean, we elect them. He says, I'm sad to be giving up the best job in the world. we elect them to office, and sometimes they just don't do what they're supposed to do. And so you got to be prepared to move them out. And imagine, let me not at this point miss the opportunity to just really talk about the important role of media in exposing exactly what happens with governments around the world and so many important issues. Because had it not been for the media exposing these parties and showing evidence and proof of parties at, what is it, number 10 Downing House or whatever they call his residence, y'all would not have been the wiser. And quite frankly, the media has been exposing a lot of breaches during COVID here in the Cayman Islands and elsewhere, where certain privileged individuals thought that the rest of us should be in lockdown while they are out and about having parties. Remember in Jamaica, a minister was removed from his ministerial position. He's still been returned as some form of a minister without a portfolio or something they call it. But yes, some people just feel like they don't have to follow the rules. And when we were in the middle of a pandemic, first of all, the UK didn't really handle COVID very well from the onset. They were slow on the pickup, and Johnson himself in the early days did not believe that the coronavirus is anything to worry about. And so the UK lost, a lot of lives. I don't know what their total numbers are, but he eventually kind of picked it up, and then they started to make a move. But imagine people going into lockdown and having to do all these things, and the elite thinking that they can still hold their fancy parties at his residence, and cocktail hour, and sitting there with caviar and whatever else they're having for their hors d'oeuvres. It just can't be. Cayman is a little bit funny about these things as well, because when we were calling out certain people doing it, y'all were like, some of y'all, I won't say all of y'all, but some of you were kind of like, oh, well, what's the big deal? And it's just like, really? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's all I'm saying. So, he's out. We'll see how that actually plays out. And yeah, it's a hot mess. I tell you. Will it have any impact on us? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much we all really care what's happening in the UK, but it is news. It is world news. And so we try to keep everybody educated here in what's happening, not just in our little island, our little circle, but beyond, because it is important to know what is happening elsewhere in the world. There's also a G24 meeting, I think it is, starting today. Is it 24? Oh God, there's so many G18s and G20s and I can't even keep up, but I think this one is G24, and I believe, or is it G20? And I think it's being held in Bali. Yes, it's G20, foreign ministers meeting in Bali. And of course, the Ukraine conflict is going to be overshadowing that whole thing. Everybody understands the role that the conflict in Ukraine, with Ukraine and Russia, has really placed on the strains that it's placed on everything thousands of miles away. There are people in Syria and Afghanistan and other places who were already suffering enough, to be quite frank, have now been thrown into further disarray as it relates to the global food crises, fuel issues, and all this sort of thing, have really been a contributing factor. And it's so sad when I look at the news and I see people in some of these poorer countries having to sell their daughters. They never seem to sell boys, sexist world that we live in. But apparently girls are worth more for their sexual use and abuse by these older men. And I was just watching a 14-year-old being sold to a 25-year-old man. In some other countries, it's even worse than that. The little girls are like 7 and 8 years old being sold to men like in their 50s. It is absolutely disgusting. And I hope that one day we live in a world where no child has to be sold so that their family can afford to put food on the table for the short term, because these are not long-term benefits. This is like, the little 14-year-old was saying, because they were asking her, one of the Western reporters was like, wow, if I was being sold by my family, I'd be upset and I'd be in tears. And she's like, well, what's the alternative to have my family starve? And I thought, wow, when you think of it that way, you can certainly understand how they're thinking. And we are so incredibly fortunate that we live in our part of the world where we have lots of complaints. And yes, some of those are legitimate complaints and concerns, but nobody's out there having to sell their child in order to put food on their table. Not yet. And I hope to God that we never get there. So the food crisis, folks, is real. There are people who are literally starving in other places around the world. And families are very, very desperate to do anything. And unfortunately, for some of them, the only asset that they see that they have is poor little children, especially little girls. So it's just it's a really, really sad, situation around the world. And we just have so much to be thankful for. I think oftentimes we forget how fortunate we are. Wow. So we continue to monitor these things. I understand that Sri Lanka has actually reached out to Russia. Sri Lanka is in a tailspin, and they have reached out to Russia to help them with their oil woes, apparently, which is kind of crazy. But they are having some serious times in that country as well. So that's a little bit of a snippet of what's happening around the world. There was a big attack that freed hundreds of prisoners in Nigeria. They say that they believe it's from an Islamic group. And of course, that's not a good thing for the people of Nigeria. France is looking to nationalize EDF nuclear giant to ride out the energy crisis. So, the energy and pricing crisis, folks, is happening all over the world. It's not just Cayman. And there's a lot of people who are impacted by this. If you follow us on social media, you will see things like, in the UK, they've been putting security tags on things like butter and cheese because they've risen in price because of inflation. And so now they're a hot commodity, like a 2-pound tub of butter is a hot commodity for people to potentially steal. And so the stores have resorted to securing them with a security tag. I'm like, wow. I've actually never been in a grocery store where a grocery store had stuff secured in all my days. Not that I'm 100 years old, but you know what I mean? I've never been in a grocery store anywhere that I've traveled that I've actually seen that. So that's kind of interesting. So yes, it is what it is. Shanghai is testing fuels. Shanghai testing is fueling concerns of another lockdown. So poor China, they continue to believe in the zero COVID policy, which we know doesn't work, but they're just unrelenting in that position and they just will not give it up. In addition to that, folks, there's something else. Oh yes, COVID news. In addition to that, you might want to know that in the last 2 weeks, worldwide, there's been a 30% increase in COVID infections around the world. And that is being fueled by a number of new variants, including, I've lost count now, BA4, 5, we soon be up to BA25. But what that means is the governments around the world are encouraging the vaccine makers to go back and tweak their vaccines a bit more. So it can continue to fight against these latest variants. So we'll see. COVID continues to kill people. A lot of people are like, oh, we're over it now. And I'm like, well, you might be over it until you end up in the hospital. And then you realize that you're not over it. So, it is what it is. I mean, we're trying to get through it and see what's around the corner. Other big news, regional news, monkeypox has reached the shores of Jamaica. I'm sure you guys saw this on our website. What on earth? I was like, already? Couldn't we have just gotten another? Let me bring up our website here. Couldn't we have gotten like another couple days, another month or so without monkeypox right on our doorsteps? Because y'all know the truth, folks. Once it hits Jamaica, they're just a stone's throw away. And so it ain't going to be long before it's in Cayman. So y'all get ready. That's all I can tell you. Because we have, obviously very, very free travel between Cayman and Jamaica. And, people go back and forth quite a bit. So the Jamaican Health and Wellness Minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton, has announced yesterday that there is a confirmed case of monkeypox in Jamaica from someone who's traveling from the UK. So the man went to public health on July the 5th, so 2 days ago, and that was 5 days after he arrived in the country. He said that the patient had been isolated and his close contacts were in quarantine. And of course, now they're trying to do contact tracing. Last week, the Bahamas also recorded its first case of the virus in a traveler from the UK. So we got that BA flight coming in loaded every week. I saw her, I refer to planes as a her. Does anybody else do that? But I saw her coming in last week. When did she come in? On Thursdays? And I got to tell you, she looked heavy. I'm like, I was talking to somebody on the phone. I'm like, what the hell is on that BA flight? Like she just looked like she was like, coming in, trying to ease it in. But whoo, she looked like she was heavy, honey, chill. Somebody laughed and said, Sandy, she's bringing in all the UK food products and people. I was like, food products? What the hell? I think a lot of people here enjoy the, what's that brand in the UK called? I don't even know. There's some brand that they're always complaining about in the women's group. Oh, I can't get my Worcestershire brand or whatever the hell it's called. That's not it, but I'm being facetious. Yeah, there's some brand that they're all into. I'm like, okay. So really, we see that the monkeypox virus is being introduced via the UK into the Caribbean. So the Bahamas and now Jamaica, Cayman will probably be next. Hold on tight. And meanwhile, we still got the Cubans, poor them, who are fighting a chickenpox outbreak in their little quarters. And of course, they are being, isolated as much as possible. All right, lots of people here, almost 300 people already. Woo! Y'all are here for that hot tea. Keep it brewing. Marshall, good morning. Olivia, Evelyn, Diamond Princess says, good morning, lovely people. Perla is here. She says, good morning, Sugar Plum. Happy Thursday. KK says, what? I know. Some days the news does make you kind of go, what? Good morning, Stephen from the UK. You stay monkeypox free, I hope. Louis from Detroit says, good morning to the CMR Nation. Happy Thursday. Busy redesigning the garden in this short season. Oh, yeah? Nice. Good morning to Miss Joy from Texas. Lennon, we're not on 106.1, so I don't know what you're telling us that for. No, they were having technical difficulties. So we are at 89.1 FM. But yes, I think that that's why we were a little bit late with the news with Blake this morning. He was having some issues. Like I said, I love me some modern technology. Y'all know that already. But sometimes, like anything else that's man-made, it just doesn't work. And so, you've got to take the good with the bad. But I tell you what, it works the majority of the time. So I'll take that. Luis, good morning. Felicia's here. Louis says he was just used to exit the EU mission completed. Brexit, yes. And you know what? I think Brexit is going to also be a failure in the long term. I don't think the people in the UK really, they were kind of on this high of, it was fueled by xenophobic issues. Like, we don't want other people in our country. So ironic. But yes, I think in the end, it's really not going to bode well for them. Protect British jobs. I mean, imagine if the rest of the world felt that way. I just feel like, the irony of it sometimes is it just makes me shake my head. So, it's going to be interesting to see in 10, 20 years what they're saying about Brexit. I think they're going to have buyer's regret on that one. But we'll see. So Boris Johnson resigned. He says, thank you for the immense privilege. This is him talking again about the privilege of serving. Poor him. What a mess.
So I want to say to the millions of people who voted for us in 2019, many of them voting Conservative for the first time, thank you for that incredible mandate. The biggest Conservative majority since 1987, the biggest share of the vote since 1979. And the reason I have fought so hard in the last few days to continue to deliver that mandate in person was not just because I wanted to do so, but because I felt it was my job, my duty, my obligation to you to continue to do what we promised in 2019. And of course, I'm immensely proud of the achievements of this government, from getting Brexit done to settling our relations with the continent for over half a century, reclaiming the power for this country to make its own laws in Parliament, getting us all through the pandemic, delivering the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, the fastest exit from lockdown, and in the last few months, leading the West in standing up to Putin's aggression in Ukraine. And let me say now to the people of Ukraine that I know that we in the UK will continue to back your fight for freedom for as long as it takes. And at the same time, in this country, we've been pushing forward a vast program of investment in infrastructure and skills and technology, the biggest in a century, because if I have one insight into human beings, it is that genius and talent and enthusiasm and imagination are evenly distributed throughout the population, but opportunity is not. And that's why we must keep leveling up, keep unleashing the potential of every part of the United Kingdom. And if we can do that in this country, we will be the most prosperous in Europe.
All right. Well, we'll see about all that. Good luck to you. So MPs, KK says MPs over here ain't resigning regardless of the dirt they do. Well, we keeping an eye on him, honey chill. Don't you worry. Good morning to Hero Blair. So good to see you. He says the herd is moving. Have a great day. What an interesting way to say it. Louise says the slave master masquerade at war among themselves, I think is what that's supposed to say. Marshall says, of course, it's the best job in the world. Most are getting a good salary for doing nothing and are being corrupt. And I guess they also, also get all sorts of other benefits, I suppose. Denny, good morning. Denny says you will own nothing and you'll be happy. Boozy party, says Anthony. Good morning, Anthony. Perla says eating a big bowl of Apple Jacks. No coffee for now, but it's coming. All right, so let's talk about some of our own dirt, because y'all know that's what y'all are really here for. When I see 300 people logged in almost right away, I'm like, oh, they saw the headline this morning. They're like, Sandy, tell me about this person. Who is this? What are you calling it now? This political analyst. Well, let's be honest. I like to kind of leave political discussions till Friday, and today ain't Friday, but we're going to do it today. We elect a lot of people who we shouldn't be electing in this country. And it's not a question of intelligence. Like sometimes I hear people saying, oh, this person's intelligent, elect them for that. Intelligence is but one characteristic, and it's not really one that a lot of our MPs have in any regard. A lot of them are not intelligent people, but they have other skills. They're people. They are good at convincing you that they're doing something, even if they're doing nothing. And there's an element of popularity that is involved in why we elect certain individuals to public office. Let me be very frank. You don't elect people to public office because they're the most qualified. If that's the case, honey child, you would have been electing someone like a Sammy Jackson, for just as an example. Or Teresa Pitcairn over the years. There's been a lot of people who've been qualified, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the people want them. The people make decisions based on, sometimes I don't know what the people make their decisions based on, but it is a little bit of a popularity contest, right? Sort of in the mix. So I often chuckle at what political groups and, the progressives, for example, will throw out there for you and say, oh, yes, this person is good, viable material. Let me show y'all a video. because I don't even know. So night before last, there was an accident, quite a bad accident, actually, 3-car accident in the beautiful district of Bodden Town there by, what's the name of that bar? Everglow, right? And, of course, we got notification because it was blocking traffic in both directions until it could kind of be cleaned up. And I said, I hope to God that they're going to be, doing a DUI, doing a, what do we call a breathalyzer test on every single person at the scene. And of course, the police did. Thank you, RCIPS, for doing your jobs. And, then the person says to me, oh, there's a former political analyst here. I did, if I had to wager a guess on who it was, believe me, he actually would have been the first person that come to my mind. Frank Cornwall. I cannot believe that the progressives had actually put this man up for political office. Poor Frank. This is one of those things where, they weren't thinking straight. He didn't have first of all, he didn't have a chance in hell at winning that seat. Least of all, he's just not qualified to do so. In no way, shape, or form. He can't even string. Listen, they already have people in office who are not qualified and really can barely string a sentence together. They stay on the backbench and they're just there to make up the numbers and to toe the line and to vote in favor of whatever the government tells them to do. The leadership within their organization, right? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Those Georgetown MPs. Somebody said, oh, but she or he is a worker bee. I'm like, y'all stop lying. For once in your life, let's tell the truth and shame the devil. Planting a couple flowers in the bushes is doing so much for the people. Y'all have some very low standards at times, right? Anyway, poor Frank. Like I said, I'm not surprised that he's involved in a DUI. Listen, this man loves to smoke his pot and he loves to drink. I think there was a meme going around with him and his bottle of Jack Daniels during the election. This is no hidden secret, that this man likes to live, even at his age. How old is Frank? Is he in his 50s yet? He's got to be in his 50s, right? That even at that age, I think he might be a grandfather. He don't give a damn about that. He's living like he is 16 and life is good. And dealing with 18-year-old girls and that sort of thing too. During his tenure with the premier, he was in court for not paying child support. This is the man, because I'm sure Alden knew this, and yet this is the man that his leadership, the progressive leadership, actually pushes on the people of Georgetown Central. Oh, vote for him. Why? Deadbeat dad, because he went and had a baby by a little girl that is probably young enough to be his own granddaughter, laying down with her when she's probably vulnerable, not really understanding what was going on, smoking and drinking pot all the time, having the best life ever, gets her pregnant, which I'm going to blame her for about at least 50% of that. Okay, don't lie down with no granny man and then get pregnant. I'm sorry, but just don't do it. Even if you can't resist the sex, do not bring a child into that situation, because you could see from day one that he was not going to be a good father. So when I hear people complain now, oh, I gotta be taking him to court for him to pay child support, and he's making all $6,000-7,000 in the premier's office, what's he spending his money on? I'm like, I don't know what he's spending his money on. It's not on the child if you gotta be forcing him into court to pay what the court has already mandated him to pay. Lord Jesus. We're gonna have to say a little prayer this morning because it's getting real up in here. So anyway, he's full of a lot of current issues, right? It's a situation, if maybe that was in the past. Maybe you were a deadbeat father 25 years ago. Now you want to go at it again and have another young child. That's your business up to a certain point. But when you work for the premier of this country and the people through that position are paying you a decent salary, the least we expect you to do, sir, is to take care of your own. You shouldn't be up in no family court. Really? I feel sorry for the young lady who got involved, child, because when I saw the documentation with my own eyes, I was like, this man, he not ready. He not easy. Jeez, peace. This is when I need to be calling Aunt Lottie and speed dial. Aunt Lottie, come speak to this man because he's a fool. Deal with him. You know, she would have whipped out her Bible and prayed for you. On the other hand, I'm like, slap him upside the head with the Bible because the prayer clearly ain't working. Because y'all love a church and it's still not working. Anyway, when someone said, oh, a certain former political analyst involved in the accident, I said, Lord Jesus, I hope he wasn't smoking pot that night. And I hope he wasn't drinking. And what's going on with the womanizing? So Shannon, good morning. Marshall says Alden's leadership was just another Boris Johnson chap, please. That was worse. Aliana. Ooh, KK say he's spending his money on Spanish. You know what? Well, here's the thing. That 2 nights ago, there was a woman in the car. I'm guessing not the girlfriend, because he does have a girlfriend. And by the way, how do men like this get so many women? Y'all need to explain this to me because I need some of that special Georgetown juice. I don't know what y'all be doing, but y'all be having a wife, a girlfriend, and then 5 women on the side. No, sir. I don't even know what that special formula is. Anyway, there was a woman in the truck with him who refused to come out of the truck, child. The truck, let me lay it out, then I'm going to show you all the footage. The truck went into the bushes, right? 3-car accident. There's an Andro work truck, a black, I don't know what kind of car that is, a black sedan, and then his red truck. So his red truck goes bloop, into the bushes. There's a woman who's sitting there in the hot heat of it all, probably being bitten up by mosquitoes in the bushes, refusing to come out of the vehicle. And I'm just like, okay, what would make you, let's just think about this for a second. What would make you refuse to come out of the vehicle during an accident? You know that first thing y'all be doing? Y'all jump out the vehicle. Oh, Lord, thank God I'm okay. I'm good. I'm not hurt. You look over yourself. You're like, yes, I'm okay. And you walk around, look at the damage from the other cars. Why would you stay in that truck? Only a couple possibilities. Number one, you wasn't supposed to be in the truck in the first place because you know the man got a girlfriend. And number two, you knew he was probably drinking and driving. So my sources at the scene said, thank you, Miss Brenda. I think they actually called him a political assistant or something. Not Premier's assistant, but I think they had some other name for him. Only God knows, my dear. They make up this stuff anyway. So they did the breathalyzers and then they took him to the station. So I'm waiting for the RCIPS to confirm whether or not that actually meant that he was arrested. But it was interesting that at the scene, he was all too happy to give an explanation of what happened. Here we go. We caught it on camera. Now this is the truck, the black car. Look how that black car mashed up. Please. The whole front end, the tire, look like where the engine all mashed up. Anybody knows what kind of car that is? Oh, hold on. That's not the full video. Hold on. What's going on here? One second. So that's when they were taking that vehicle away. Now I'm going to show y'all poor Frank trying to explain what happened. So, of course, I personally was not believing this is our version of what happened, or his version of the story. And you know the saying, "Thou does protest too much." He was all about, this one pulled out in front of me, and this is what happened, and I said, Lord, this is when you probably want to shut up. Don't say too much, Frank, because this will come back and bite you in court. Because now you're gonna be like, oh, Your Honor, I wasn't really over the limit. That machine is wrong. And then we have the video evidence that you were telling a certain version of the story that your insurance company is now going to probably be extremely interested in. So give me 1 second while that video downloads. So good morning, Miss Ann Rice, joining us from St. Petersburg, Florida. Beautiful. Jonathan said maybe she had on no underwear. Child, we can speculate about why she was hiding in the car, but I don't know. Amira says, boy, it hot this morning. Actually, I am physically hot this morning, so I'm going to keep drinking my ice water over here. So, Aliana says, what is in this Georgetown juice? Because mine must be expired. Oh, poor you, Aliana. You need to take some lessons from some of these older heads, man, because I tell you what, they might be in their 50s and 60s, but they sure know a thing or two about womanizing that our generation missed out on. And the irony of it is, they be talking about our generation like, oh, these young people. I shouldn't say my generation because I'm a little bit older now, but y'all young folks, they be talking about, oh, these young people up to no good. And they got so many boyfriends. I'm like, who do you think they learned it from? Let's be honest now, Grandma. You up to no good in your day too. Sleeping with your sister's husband. Come on now. That's why you got two first cousins and what are they? They're first cousins and siblings at the same time. Some mixed up foolishness. Enough of that went on back in the day. Double cousins. How do you become a double cousin? That's because somebody dipping in the same juice as their other siblings. So, they want to pretend like they were all up in church and being good. But we know the real score. Some people in their 50s, they don't even know who their dad is. Their mama told them it was Mr. So-and-so. And everybody else in town is like, no, honey child, he not your daddy. Everybody else is like, nope, it's this one. It's like a game of Ring Around the Roses. You got to guess as to who is the father of the child. This was before they had Jerry Springer, by the way, because I know y'all love your Jerry Springer now. And imagine back in those days if Jerry Springer show existed. Enough of y'all grandparents and great-grandparents would have been embarrassed. But you see, back in those days, they weren't about exposing their business. They kind of kept it hush-hush. You only heard it on the mall road. Yes, I'm trying to get this video ready here. Give me 1 second. So yes, my dear, you only heard it on the mall road because they were, let me just grab my, there's a much easier way of doing this, honey child. Anytime you have video footage and stuff and you're trying to transfer it from an iPhone, it's the most annoying thing in the world. So I have this little dongle that lets me do it easily from phone to PC. Here we go now. We're getting it ready. So yes, my love, they were just very, very good at hiding their business back in the day. And so that's how, you didn't really know much about who your daddy was or whatever, because they were just, that's the style. That's what they did. They hid it from people. And so you grew up believing, and a lot of men, now listen, we give some men a really rough time, right? And I got to be honest with you, some of these men took on a responsibility that they knew wasn't theirs. Right? Am I right or am I right? Yes. They knew that child wasn't for them. That wasn't really that good of a secret. They knew they were off at sea and the timing just isn't right. And still, despite that, they, just manned up and are like, well, I'll raise it along with the other 4 that I'm raising. And everybody would look at that one child and go, ooh, why does that child have different hair color, different eyes? She don't look nothing like her dad. Everybody else look like everybody else is a spitting image of him. And of course, there was always that 1 or 2 that just didn't add up. And, them old people, they just kind of kept it to themselves. They didn't believe in going on a Jerry Springer and talking their business. But as it turns out, a lot of people still knew their business, child. And generations later, we still talking about it. All right, let me see here now. Let me kick Boris off the screen because we finished with him. We have no more time for Boris Johnson drama. We got our own drama. So here's Frank at the scene, given his version of events. Am I able to pull this in? Oh, yes, here he is. Can y'all hear him? I can't even hear him. Anyway, he was explaining that somebody came out of something and run him off the road and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, nobody's really believing this version of events. Why can't I hear him? Yeah, can't hear him at all, child. Hold on now. Let me see what's going on with my little video. 1 second here, folks. I wanted y'all to hear in his words. I'm not trying to put words in the man's mouth because he had more than enough to say, honey child. He definitely had a mouthful. He had a version of events that seems extremely questionable. Oh, yes. Okay, hold on. I don't know why it's not, all right, let me save it. Ugh, modern technology. I keep telling y'all, we love it when it's working, but when it ain't working, it's like, what? So when I open it up, I get it. Hold on. We're going to cut it and paste it over. Yes, so. Okay. And then I think we need to change the file format to an MP4. Y'all hold on now, because I know y'all want to hear what Frank was saying. I want to hear him too. So, you know, the irony of things in this day and age, folks, is that you should know that anything you say and do, especially when it's in public, just keep in mind that people are watching you. You understand what I'm saying? Don't lie. Just tell the truth. If Aunt Lottie was here right now, I'm telling you, she would say, you see, Sandra, this is why I tell you, you must be honest, yeah? And yes, I completely agree. Honesty is required. All right, let me see what's going on with Frank's video here now. Can we copy it? Let's see, copy. So he has quite a fanciful explanation as to what he claims was the cause of the accident. But of course, you know, the second you are drinking and driving, which by the way is against the law in this country, there will be consequences for that. And, you know, we can't feel any way about it. If that's what Frank was doing, then that's what Frank was doing. And if that, you know, Frank, you know, it's not good if that's what you were doing. You understand me? All right, let me see here now. Frank video trying to hide from CMR. Child. Little does he know. So we're going to try to rename it because I think that could be the problem. iPhones always want to do some kind of proprietary foolishness. Maybe trying to name something, a certain thing. Which, by the way, big shout out to CUC. I see them rolling up outside. They're going to be cutting the power this morning, but the generator should kick in now. Shout out to Marlon. Marlon's like, I told you you're going to need that generator sooner rather than later. I was like, yes, husband. I hear you. So they're doing some repair work today, and the power's going to be off most of the day. All right. I think we're ready. Here we go. Can y'all hear it yet? Still can't hear it? What the? No, sir. All right. We're going to do it in a different way. All right. We're going to pull it up in a different screen. Hold on. And then I'm going to just simply share that screen. More than one way is to cut the cat. Skin the cat. Here we go. Now y'all gonna get it. Ready?
Somewhere around here. Right around here. Right around this area. If I could avoid it, I would definitely avoid it. But there was no more space to avoid. choice I made is not to hit that light pole. I'm alright. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I just tried to avoid the accident without hitting the light pole. They clipped me and threw me into a spiral pit, which I couldn't quit. Ended me up over there. Yeah. I asked Father God why.
Father God, why? Lord Jehovah, lead the Lord out of this. Cha.
Father God, thank you that we are all.
Thank God that you didn't kill nobody with your drunkenness. That's true.
You know, trying to avoid the car, pulling. Huh? Yeah. She's sitting in the vehicle. She's sitting in the vehicle. She's okay. Everybody's okay.
Who is she? That's what people really want to know.
I avoided as much of the accident as I could. Why is she getting? But I couldn't change the position that the car, the truck was being pushed. I couldn't change that. I couldn't correct that. So I had to take. Yeah, I was going. Yeah. Yeah. All the vehicles were coming now. So where did it go?
Getting interrogated. Lord Jehovah. I must tell you, I really like how people at the scene were like, okay, so they're like little roving reporters. So where did the accident happen? Where were you coming from? What were you doing? And poor Frankie over here slurring his words. I want to thank the Lord, thank Jesus that everybody is safe. But it's not my fault, you know. That they come out of nowhere, and next thing I know, they put me in a steel pin, what do you call it again? Steel, spin, yeah. And then they throw me into the bushes. And oh, thank the Lord, everybody's safe. And she's hiding in the car. I'm like, who? Excuse me, sir. Hello, who is she? I was hoping he would have dropped a name. But even in his drunken state, he never mentioned who she is. Y'all sit there thinking, Frank Fu. Oh my God. Jeez, some peace, Frank. This could have been your Georgetown Central politician, y'all. He could have been a cabinet member. Because y'all don't know when you elect people, you don't know who's going to be a cabinet member. Jesus, really? That's what we had running for political office in 2021? Y'all need to do better. They were just trying to make up numbers over in the progressives camp because not too many people with really good sense wanted to run with them, if the truth be known. So they were like, just throw Frank. They think, you know what the problem is with Georgetown Central? And y'all better be careful now, yeah. They think that Georgetown Central makes up just a certain amount of people who they want to believe are ignorant Georgetowners. Y'all don't be fooled by Georgetowners, you know. Let me tell you. But Georgetown Central goes all the way up to Crew Road. And there's a lot of families and stuff in that area who are well educated and they're not being fooled by nobody. So y'all sitting there trying to run drunks for Georgetown Central and thinking that they can get in. So anyway, this is one of those instances where it's almost like, did we need to waste money on a breathalyzer? Like, could we not tell that this man was drunk and sauced up? I mean, just what he was saying. Yeah, you know, but praise the Lord, we're all safe. I'm like, the Lord should have struck you down one little piece of lightning. Don't be calling my name in this mix-up, says it the Lord. Fire and ruination for you for drinking and driving and potentially killing somebody. Look at how mashed up those cars are. Oh my God. And he talking about, what are you saying? I'm all right. I'm fine. Of course you're fine. He tried to avoid it in his drunken state. They clipped me. A spiral. Oh my God. Ended me up over there. The only question I have is which bar was he coming from, or where were they coming from? Was he coming from Everglow, or was he coming from somebody else? Was it like a private party that none of us were invited to? And it wasn't at Everglow. Maybe they had something in the car and it was like a special kind of just, 2 people party. I don't know, boy, but that is, holy smokes. His tongue was so heavy. Yes, Allie, sometimes I can only laugh at these fools because, unfortunately, this could have been your MP. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh. It literally blows my mind when I think about it. Al says, I'm no fool. I know the game. Al, you and a lot of other people in Georgetown Central not being fooled by him, so they better get it together. Aliano says, hashtag sauced and crossed. Miss Brenda says, you think you Lovendaire. Who Lovendaire is? Who that is? I don't even know who that is. Just tried to avoid the accident. Yeah, boy. Really came on, I can't pronounce the word V. Avoid. I tried to avoid that accident, Avoid. Why do we pronounce? As a kid, one of the words that I couldn't pronounce to save my life, like when I first went to the States, nobody understand what the hell I was saying. They were like, what language do you speak? Poor little me, as a 9-year-old, I was insulted. I'm like, language? What do you mean? I was speaking English, but my Cayman accent was like, whoa. So they're like, we can't understand you, Chad. We don't know what language you're speaking. And one of the words I used to mispronounce was the word alcohol, like rubbing alcohol. I used to say alcohol. Those Caymanians. Woo! I feel like I would have been sauced up as a little kid, like alcohol. No, sir. Woo! Poor Steven says he soon lose his government job because he's sitting there laughing on the job. He says, you got me all fired up from this. You're going to get me fired from this good government job, laughing out loud. Don't lose your job now because CMR ain't got a job for you. So people tell me all the time, somebody said yesterday, they were at work trying to listen to the show, and then they had to go do something somewhere else, and they left it running on their phone. And the boss was like, honey, child, you got to turn the volume down when you walk away from the phone. I'm like, you can pause it and come back to it later on. Woo! So Bruce said, who did the progressives put forward for Bordentown West to run against Chris? Chris was a strong candidate. I was really waiting for oh, child, please. That was another one. They put up, although he claimed he was an independent candidate. Oh, Lord, what's his name again? Frederick. Help me out, Bordentowners. What was Frederick's? Another one. I can't string a sentence together. Vincent Frederick. Yes, honey child. That's the best they could do, Bruce. They had some really weak candidates. And to think they were still out there trying to form a government after all that. Yeah, Vincent. We can use the W's today. Vincent Frederick. I must ask Marlon. Okay. He says, Miss Brenda says, ask your husband. He's a Jamaican singer, Wild Gilbert. Oh, I might have to look that one up. Shannon says, government, do they fire anyone ever? Well, to be honest now, his position, that's not government, don't blame the civil service for this incompetence. They might have their own incompetence in other ways, but this was a political appointment. What is he doing now that the progressives isn't in anymore? Do they still have him on the payroll doing something? Drive around the Spanish girls for the other members of the progressive? Because boy, they love them a Honduran woman. Jeez on peace. Not only do they love to cheat on their wives, progressive members. Some of y'all, you know who I'm talking about, hanging out at the bar up in Breakers a lot. They seem to switch bars on me though. There was the one in, what's it called now? Chelsea's? Is that the name of it? The one in West Shore Plaza. They used to hang out there a lot because I remember when we got the video of the former leader following a woman towards the bathroom. That was what the allegation was. I mean, we saw the video. Don't know what came before the video, but he was a little step in his pep following this woman. And people are like, "Ooh, he following her over there." You know, you don't know when people are going to whip out their cameras anymore. So y'all MPs, y'all need to be behaving because Lord, what a mess. But yeah, they really like Spanish women. I like I said, there's a special thing going on in the Georgetown sauce, but we got to try and speak to some of these Honduran women to see what they got in their little sauce basket too, because they carrying some extra pepper jelly or something sweet and spicy at the same time, honey child. And they love to go sit down in a little corner up at the bar up in Breakers. You always saw the premier's vehicle being hidden in the bushes close by. Child, they were so bold with it. Let's be honest. They weren't even hiding in the bushes. They're just so ridiculous. Praise the Lord. I mean, y'all say what you want to say about Wayne Panton, but he not living up in no bar. I don't know what he does at home. All this stress, he might be drinking himself to death at home. I don't really know. But you're not going to see him hanging out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the bar. Yes, Miss Brenda. And she's saying all these STDs and stuff. They're not business with that. And there's a lot of allegations that sometimes they be getting these women pregnant and then they send them back home with these babies. And when they do that 23andMe, they gotta see who family to them. Oh, Anthony wants some side effects. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Dropping some truth bombs this morning. Oh, CUC. So yes, CUC is doing some localized work. And big shout out to CUC this morning. They actually sent out a notification via text. Mess with them. They sent me a text message to say the houses in this area are going to be without power because of work. Let me tell you exactly what they said. Something like that. Let me see here now. CUC said, good day. They got manners too, chill. Good day. There's an outage scheduled, and then they have the roads on July the 7th from 9 a.m. Oh, I thought it was 7 a.m. Okay. 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Thank you, CUC. So yes, whenever they schedule outages now, they'll tell you the names of the roads, and then they'll say things like and side roads, and they give you the time estimated, I'm sure. But yeah, so I knew it was coming a couple days ago. So appreciate it. Thank you to CUC. And of course, you guys know we recently got a backup generator. Marlon said, one of these days you're going to be doing your show and the power's going to go out. Now I have a goat mouth, but he got a little bit of a goat mouth too, because literally the day that they finished the generator work, guess what happened? That night, the power went out during the Premier Access show. And I didn't even notice it because the generator kicked right in, honey child. So, you know, he's in charge of IT at home. So he has all the backup stuff. So the little minute that it takes the generator to kick in, he has backup systems to make sure I have uninterrupted service. Y'all get y'all a useful man now. Don't be getting these drunks that can't offer you nothing but a little pee-pee, because you can't take that to the bank and do nothing with that. So anyway. So Shannon says them Spanish women perform from the ceiling fan. You know, I am not going to be killing their energy. Luis says that they have a specialty with a certain skill set. BJ's, I'm not going to be knocking it, because you know what? Everybody has to make a living. And if you ain't got brains or whatever else to work with, I guess if God gave you a body, you better try and know how to use that once you're above age now. And you know what you're getting into, honey child, because these men don't mean you no good. They're drinking, smoking pot, almost killed you in an accident because you're the side piece. You can't even come out the car. You hide in the bushes because you know he got other women. He got a mean squeeze somewhere else. So I think that's fair to say, Miss Brenda, you're probably not being impacted by it. Miss Lucille says, Sandy, please stop. You was going to kill me before time. I want to make sure and pray to God. You did not pick me up. I was going to try my best. Leave Frank alone, girl. I is here sitting in the kitchen and caught at some, going to ship you out. What are you shipping out? Going to ship you out. I do. Woo! Next, we're coming up to the next story, which is going to be another child. Get your second cup of coffee, because this next one is another one that making you roll your head and roll your eyes and everything else. So KK wants to know about people in the Spanish Honduras, the young man with the killing of the taxi driver. Nothing new about that yet, but I tell you what, if he's found guilty, I'm sure we'll hear about it then, and he's going to real jail. He's not going to Her Majesty's Palace up here in northward. He's going to real jail, and they don't play around in Honduras jails for sure. Flashpoint says, I don't think that any of our politicians have been adequately qualified for the portfolios that they've been assigned. I wouldn't say any of them. So like financial services, finance, I think Chris Saunders is qualified. We have, the premier, he's obviously has worked in financial services and he's all about, what else is in his portfolio? Sustainability and all. Yeah. But listen, Flashpoint, the point is no one is an expert on everything. And we all have to understand our limitations. And how much do you think politicians actually do? They rely a lot on the directives and policy advice. That's why they have policy analysts and people who can do all the research and bring stuff to them of the civil service. That's why who's really running your government, who y'all need to be blaming for half the shit that goes down in this country, not half, 80% is actually the civil servants. Y'all not ready for that conversation because you need to have had about 3 drinks to understand what I'm really saying. They are the ones advising your elected officials. Oh, we should implement this. We should go in this direction. We should segregate our schools. We should, take away what other foolishness have they done with the schools that didn't make any sense? Oh yes, take away a middle school and put all the young kids together with the older kids. Who on earth told Ralston, England, that was a good idea? Now, Ralston, we know you like your little sauce too. So I don't know if they told you one thing and you misunderstood them, but that was a horrible idea. And no subsequent government since then has had the audacity, let's just call it what it is, the balls, to undo that mistake. How much longer are we going to go and allow little 12-year-olds to be in a school with 16-year-old kids where they're getting abused left, right, and center, beaten up and all kind of stuff? Every time I go on social media, I see parents talking about how these little kids are at the mercy of the older children being physically assaulted. I see my, I think she would be my niece, up to the other day posting something on Facebook about her son, how he get beat up and, John Gray again. And she's been trying to reach somebody at John Gray. No one is responding to her messages. I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? That school needs a shaking up in more ways than one. Sure. No, sir. But listen, I'm going to tell y'all what I told my husband. I said, Marlon, listen, we only got the one child. And so we have an obligation as parents to ensure that she has every opportunity in this world to try to have a stress-free life. And John Gray ain't going to be cutting it for her. So if I have to take up a second job pole dancing, because that's legal here in the Cayman Islands, then it's going to have to be what it is. Because I feel like, not that private schools are inherently better, although they are. They get better results and so on. They have their own set of issues. But you can hold them accountable in a different way when you're paying somebody. When you're giving your money to somebody, they don't roll up and you're talking about, oh, there's nothing that we can do. Really? Excuse me? No, honey child, that's not going to work. No, they need to do better. But you know, the ministers have a responsibility, because if the elected arm of government says this is what it needs to be, they give directives broadly to the civil service, and the civil service needs to get it done. Everybody lollygagging around and nothing is getting done. And your poor children be, beaten up by other children and all kind of stuff. I'm not happy with what I'm seeing happening in the educational system. Our standards are way too low. What we sit back and accept it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Matrix says the women like the big D energy just as much as the men like the sweet, sweet energy. One mess. Until recently, I didn't know anything about this BDE situation. Now, y'all know I'm getting old now, so I got to be keeping up. Until I heard Kardashian, she should know about this BDE energy, this BDE. And I was like, what the hell is BDE? Child, I had to go Google it. So, good morning, Miss Jan. Yes, child, sometimes when you hear people having these conversations, they're talking in code. She was like, oh, I was curious about the BDE with, what is the young boy name is that she dating again? Oh God, he's like half her age, but anyway, what his name is? Pete Davidson. Because apparently Pete Davidson, they say, is well endowed for a man who's a non-African. He got African somewhere in that blood, y'all sit there. So anyway, she'd heard the rumors, even in Hollywood, child, they got rumors about BDE. And so she was given this interview and she's like, oh, I was kind of curious about the BDE. I was like, what the hell is BDE? So I went and Googled it. BDE. And child, when that popped up, I was like, Jesus, where's my Bible? I was like, no, sir. Woo! Kurt, listen, let me just tell y'all a bit of ridiculousness for a second here when it comes to Hollywood. Kim Kardashian, who got her start because of a sex tape, sitting there talking about BDE. Jared, I see you over there laughing. I mean, is it not ironic because she's only dated black men? You want to check out BDE in a white man? It's really funny. Like, it made me chuckle. Like, that goes to show you can't really, they always talk about black men are well endowed. You can't go by that now. That's a lie, apparently. Because Kim Kardashian over here telling people this is the best sex she's ever had in her entire life. This adult conversation this morning. And so, child, I'm like, I wonder how Kanye feels when she said that. Poor Kanye must have been like, oh, what you trying to say about me? I gave you 4 children. She still said this is the best she's ever had. Jared, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Child, I'm right here sipping my water.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! All right, let's talk about this other young man who works for, Miss Brenda said, specialty, STDs, cold hearts, greedy, love for money. That's the recipe. Oh, geez, on peace. I think the murder trial has been put on hold, Miss Brenda. We can get to that another day. So listen, let's talk about the civil servant, right? Who has been suspended. So we had the 2 prison officers. Remember them 2 with ganja? One was ganja in the shoe, and the other one had it. Where was he hiding it again? I don't even know. So both of them have now admitted to smuggling ganja in the prison. I mean, they should have admitted that from day one. I don't know what took them so long. But all right. So they'll probably get a slap in the wrist. Do they put them in prison with the general population now? That's all I'm wondering. How does that work? Anthony says the Minister of Education is missing in more ways than 2. Al says pole dancing actually pays a lot. Now, Al, I'm joking. Don't be going crazy on me. But yes, I mean, it's an honest living in a way. So Miss Sue says her daughters were fine when they went to John Gray, but a lot has changed since then. Trust me. And I think the biggest thing is the combining of these schools, because a 12-year-old is very different than a 16-year-old, the mentality, or a 15-year-old. There is a big growth period in those years. So I think, they need to separate them back down to the way that they were. smaller, more manageable classrooms and stuff like that as well. Oh geez, I'm peace. Bam, Marjorie, we can't read that on the, we can't read that on the air. Y'all try to behave now. This did not become sex education 101. But y'all look like you're ready for the conversation, child. We're gonna have to do a cold hard truth after dark show. Listen, so customs officer accused of rape or some sort of a sexual assault last week, Thursday, has been suspended. Let me tell y'all who he is. Let me get the picture ready. The strange thing about this particular situation is this officer is a trainee still. Now, y'all know, I was like, what? A trainee? So you don't even get the job properly? And you already being arrested for alleged rape or sexual assault? His name is Jose Rico. So, Senor Jose Rico apparently is in some kind of a mix-up situation. He's a trainee customs officer. And handsome little fella. And he's married with a wife, was married in 2018. And somehow he gone and get himself mixed up in some situation now where someone is alleging rape and he has been arrested. And so customs had to put him on leave. Innocent until proven otherwise, but wow. This is kind of a crazy situation. The police haven't said anything about it. It is a little bit of an unusual case. The police are really, really mum about it. They've not said a whole lot. And they've not said anything at all. We haven't seen any press releases. And yeah. George Towner. His mom is actually Miss Lucille Barnes. He's a nice looking fellow, actually. And so I don't know all the ins and outs, but boy, he looked like his mom, if it's true, you know. He really looks like his mom. I don't know, what the details are. And of course, he is innocent until proven otherwise. So all I know is customs has had to suspend him. Now, I find it kind of strange that this all went down last week. He got suspended from work, I think, on Thursday or Friday. No, I think it was Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday. And then he went away for the weekend. So I'm like, well, I guess they're not worried about it because they clearly didn't confiscate his passport. He was able to travel. I said to myself, what a mess. Anyway, we'll keep you guys updated on this one. Not sure where this case is going, but that much we know so far. Suspended from his customs job, and y'all be killing yourselves trying to get a little customs job or get a job with government because y'all believe that that's the best job in the world. And it's sad because when you get the job, some of you are not able to keep the jobs. I want me a government job. Okay. Yes. Because you can get all these benefits. You don't have to pay health insurance, and you got about 50 million children. And so everybody gets health insurance for free. Pension doesn't come out. So you're like, okay, I'm only making $3,000 a month. But guess what? That's take-home pay. Y'all be complaining about, private sector pays more. Yeah, but private sector can take out $1,000 a month for insurance for you and your 17, 11 children. How do we say it again, Jared? When you got a bag of children or a bag of, what's the term that we use? 17, 11? That's not quite it. Y'all help me out here because I'm having a moment. I can't remember the exact term I'm looking for. 17, 11? No. Something like that. But in other words, you got a bag of children. So we'll keep an eye on this case. The thing about it is when you were 11 children? 11,
I think so.
Something like that. But anyway, just be careful, folks. when you get these government jobs to make sure you keep yourself in good stead. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
7 to 11.
7 to 11.
Mm.
Yeah, thank you, honey.
Some people always also say 11, like that person said, but that's when it's not too much. But 7 to 11 when it gone higher than that.
7 to 11. Thank you, my baby.
Okay.
All right, 7 to 11. There you go. Yeah, y'all be having that many children. What a mess. And government be paying for them. So when you're a civil servant and you get arrested, you know, my thing is you're innocent until proven guilty. But let's expedite it. Because what ends up happening is the person remains on leave for years. We pay them to do nothing. And surely that cannot make any good monetary sense. That's not right. Right? Here's another example of where we paying people. Big shout out to Mr. Paul Hurlston. We told you guys a couple weeks ago that he was getting the job over at the port. Yes, remember that? So CMR broke that little news. He signed the contract. Poor thing. I think he had to think about it really, really hard, because he's like, oh, that port mess. I'm in retirement. I can go fishing every day. So my understanding is he's just on a 3-year contract, and he's here to help out the government. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to come here help you with this mess.
He need help the board.
Alden had him fired, and now he's back. So anyway, he thinks he can help clear up the port, but Jared just said it. The biggest problem at the port is this rogue board. How many times do I have to say it? But this government look like they're afraid to do anything about rogue boards. They better wake up.
Fire them. As quick as you hire them, fire them. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, you know, if you got energy for people in cabinet, allegedly, you gotta have energy for people on boards, allegedly.
Listen to me. Hire the board. Okay. If y'all know what I know, and I've reported some of it, but not all of it, because I wouldn't be talking about anything else but the port. Let's be honest. They are ridiculous. Let me give y'all a little bit more snippet of how this board has been operating. First of all, poor Mr. Paul has been on the job for over a week now. No official announcement has been made. I think they're going to make it this morning during the press conference. There's a press conference at 10 o'clock. So I think they're finally going to say it. Maybe they wanted to see if he could survive a week. So board, y'all need to go read these board minutes, right? One thing that seems to be consistent with the board minutes is Jackie, where her name is again? Scott, she has another name. I think she's been married. Jackie something Scott. Her and Richard Parchment always have the most to say. Jacqueline Scott Rankin and Richard Parchment are always, they are the lone voice over here in the bushes. And by the way, they're the reason why Joseph Wood resigned as acting port director and resigned completely from the port. Because he says he's refusing to work with a board where those two people who were on the previous board under the previous Progressives administration remain. Okay. Go look at the minutes. Hear this little snippet. The ministers at Point J discussed with the minister their concerns on the governor's HR audit report, which is a report we're still waiting for months later. They claim they finally finished it. The members expressed that they were not offered the opportunity to speak with the auditors, nor were they offered the opportunity to review the information before the report was finalized, which is a breach to the natural justice process. Really? Board members want to talk about natural justice process as though they actually know and follow the law? Really? Because the allegation has always been that the board members at the port have been micromanaging and dabbling in the port affairs, operational affairs, which is none of their business. They don't understand what board members do. And they have ulterior motives why they're doing it. So Jackie wants to run for political office. God bless her soul. Not under CMR's watch, honey child. That's not gonna happen. I mean, you can run, but the people will be informed, duly informed at the time, of why they should look at anybody else to cast a vote to. Yes, progressives, go ahead and run her like how you ran Frank. Why not? Goes on to say, there's a couple other washed up politicians trying to flex their muscles on the board. Board members discussed and reviewed the governor's audit report. The members expressed their concerns regarding the information, which was finalized without members on the board being given the opportunity, yes, okay, of due process by the auditors. All members agreed unanimously that a formal response should be sent to the auditors and the governor's office. Really? Because you want to try to defend what y'all have been doing in terms of meddling in HR matters and other stuff, which has come up in previous years before. That's why that audit and risk committee, you know, why the auditor general said the remit, it's not about having that committee in place. It's that the remit of that committee is problematic because y'all are using that committee for the wrong thing. Then they turn around and announce a customer relations subcommittee. Boy, they love a subcommittee at the port. So apparently Ms. Irma Arch was nominated as the key contact for discussions and services provided by PACI and to address any issues from PACI clients and customers. Customer Relations Subcommittee. And every time these committees have a meeting, these subcommittees have a meeting, they get paid for those too. Y'all think we fooling the people. So someone says, yep, they're going to set up another subcommittee to get involved in operational matters again. So now they're getting complaints about the service at the port. Well, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Here, you know, let's talk about medical marijuana. Where's my little friend? Where's our little medical marijuana friend? He's still here?
Denny, is Denny?
No, not Denny. Jonathan. Jonathan loved him a marijuana. 4011. That's the one I was thinking of, you know. I was thinking of 4011. So not quite as much as the 1711 one, but 4011. Yes, El Ray, you win a prize today. Why doesn't the minister change the board? Brenda, I've been asking this question for months.
The minister allegedly doesn't want to change it because if he did, it would have had happened. Or unless he occupied with tourism, which that's not the case. Listen, we've been spoken about this
long time.
I don't know if a kaboom would help.
The board should be dissolved and changed. A kaboom?
Kaboom.
You think that can help?
Because this board.
Well, let's give it to him if you think it's that simple. Whatever it takes. This board is just ridiculous. But we're not done yet. Hold on. More to come. Here I am now. This is where it gets even more interesting. Okay. As it relates to medicinal marijuana, because here's the thing. There are people who are smoking pot that work at the port. Shocker. Can you believe it? Now, there's certain jobs you may have because they come with their little medical marijuana card anytime something shows up on the drug test, right? So there is a difference between recreational and medical. But what a lot of these guys are doing is they're getting the medical card and then they're smoking recreationally and claiming that, oh, no, this is from the CBD oil or whatever. I don't know who they think they're fooling. But you can smoke, listen, well, technically you can't smoke marijuana in the Cayman Islands. That's still against the law. But if you choose to break the law and deal with those consequences, that's your business. I'm not here to micromanage you. You do that if you want. But there's certain jobs that you have to understand that if that's the lifestyle you want, you cannot hold certain jobs. And that includes working at a port. with heavy equipment. Handling heavy equipment, you got to be on your P's and Q's. You can't be fuzzy in no way, shape, or form. You better be making sure you're getting enough sleep. You're not out drinking and driving and hanging out with strange women in the middle of the night, ending up in the bushes in your truck. No, port workers, you need to keep it together because we rely on you to not be dropping cranes on top of each other. Y'all not seen nothing yet until somebody gets killed at the Cayman Islands port, and then the government gets slapped with a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, the government meaning we the people, and then you got to see the governor come in and say, okay, enough is enough. The UK can take over your port now because y'all can't handle your own business. Port is about security in more ways than one, okay? Let me give you an example of where sometimes you're being misguided. All right. A big shout out to Jay Ebanks. He went to Honduras. Is he back yet from Honduras? Y'all know when these men be going to these countries, y'all better keep an eye on them. Going to Honduras, talking about food. Anyway, so he goes to Honduras. Now, you know, there's a little story behind this where people are saying he didn't follow the correct protocol to go to Honduras. So he jumps up one day, oh yeah, let's go to Honduras to talk about food options, import options, blah, blah, blah. Had no meeting with the importers in Cayman, nothing. So let me try and understand how this works. Now, I like a person who's proactive. I like a man who's proactive. But you got to make sure you take your time, honey child. You can't be too quick on the draw now. Don't be pulling out those guns and blazing all over the place because then you're misshooting. Sometimes you got to pull it back. You get an idea in your head and you said, all right, let me work it out. Okay. Let me speak to the people in my ministry. I have this idea about diversifying our food supply. How would this work? And who are the key stakeholders that we need to engage with to see how viable this is? You don't jump up and just run to Honduras and sort it out on that end. Because of course Honduras can be like, ooh, people from La Isla de Cayman want to spend money here in Honduras. Of course we're going to send you food and whatever else we can put on a boat. That's fine. But the real question is, have you thought about all of the logistical angles of how this is going to work? Right now, we don't have any direct shipping per se that is coming in from Honduras. You have the little boats that go out and catch little lobster and fish and whatever. That's different. So Miracle Brokers, Thompson Shipping, none of them have a Honduras route. Did you speak to any of those people? Did you work out if any of them would be interested? Because government is not in the shipping business and government is also not in the food distribution business. Okay? So government might have an idea, but they need to speak to key stakeholders to figure out the logistics of how it's going to work and if it's going to solve a problem and if it's going to work well for the people of the Cayman Islands. And when you don't do all of those things, but you're already in Honduras talking to them people over there, there's some of us who are looking at the situation going, this sounds good, but you haven't gone far enough yet with it. So you guys know the distributors that bring in the food, right? We have Progressives. Who else is there, Jared? They all kind of formed a conglomerate. So the grocery
Miracle
stores.
Brokers.
No. I'm talking about food.
Import?
No. I'm talking about food importers who put grocery in your grocery stores. So remember a couple of years ago, they got together, the Kirkernels and the Fosters, and they said they were going to all work as a team instead of working, in direct competition as such. They'd work as a team to make sure that Cayman had enough food supplies and whatever, right? So, I think that's been working for them. I haven't heard any complaints. You think this government actually spoke to any of those people? There went my power. You saw it? All right, generator should be kicking in, y'all. Let's see. If it don't work, we're going to be talking to Marlon. We're going to blame Marlon. All right, how many seconds? But this light not on, oh yeah, that one's not in the backup. Oh yeah, hold on now. I'm biting my nails. Waiting. Is the generator going to kick in? And boy, I tell you what, CUC 9:05. Remember they said they were going to do it at 9 o'clock? They wasn't joking. At 9:05, bloop, power gone, honey child. But I think we're still good. Waiting on the generator. Where is it? Marlon? Get the generator on. CUC just cut the power. Is this little temporary thing I have here that can only last for so long? Oh, wait a minute. Did it kick in and I don't even know? That's entirely possible. Hold on. I gotta check my emails because apparently the system emails you and tells you. I don't see no email yet saying generator kicked in. Well, I hope he checked the propane levels, child. Home gas, where you at? All right. We still good. We still got some kind of backup thing going on here. So anyway, yes. So if they don't talk to the stakeholders, like Foster's, who's actually going to be putting it on, they would have to be the ones bringing it in, right? Progressives, cost you less, all these people. So they haven't spoken to any of them. What if they say, what does Honduras have to offer us, really? And we're not interested in that route. Government just wasted a trip and went and spoke to people for exploratory reasons. You say you need to do you need to check off certain things and do certain things before you run and go jump into a certain basket. Now, there is the possibility that maybe we could be getting fresher food, although Honduras and Miami not really that far apart, but maybe we could get different types of food from Honduras. But there's so many things to consider and look at. For example, what sort of food quality are we talking about here? What do they use by way of pesticides? Who is regulating farmers in Honduras? Now, y'all know things work a little bit different in Honduras, child. So, I'm a farmer with a lot of money in Honduras. I don't have to follow the rules that everybody else does. No way. I'm like, I just pay somebody some money under the table, corruption. And then I get what I want. Have we considered all of these things? Like who on that end is going to be guaranteeing the safety of her foods? Now, listen, I'm not even thinking yet about what they're going to be sneaking into the shipment as well. Because, they're not going to be just sending us food, honey child. Somebody said they were already shipping us their women. So why not? They're going to be putting other stuff in there too. Y'all know what I'm saying? Yeah. Truth be known, drugs, the importation of drugs is a serious concern. All right. The importation of insects and whatever else that might be coming in. There's a lot to this that hasn't really been figured out yet. And so jumping up and justifying a trip where you're wasting money at this early stage, to me, seems a little bit misguided. Oh, Jonathan saying that people drinking on the job all the time. I don't know what jobs you've been applying for, Jonathan, where people are drinking. You've been talking to Frank. What do you know about people drinking on the job? Somebody just sent a picture of Frank. He has something in his mug. I don't know what it is, honey child. They say ask him what was in the mug. Well, Jonathan, I don't know where who you be talking to, Jonathan? Who is drinking on the job? Most people be drinking coffee on the job. If they're drinking on the job, they must have a problem with alcohol. And so that's a whole different situation. If you have an addiction, does it matter what you're addicted to? All those substances are dangerous if you're an addict. Ms. Brenda said, what about those snorting cocaine? Is that the norm, Jared? Are people just snorting cocaine at work? What are y'all saying to me here today?
I think it's annoying for people to be drinking at work or is trying to get sober up at work.
Lord have mercy. Doing cocaine at work.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's something that is an everyday something. So Marshall says, I know of a handful of port workers who've got fired over the years for smoking weed. And that bunch was my brother. Sad, but he and all the rest of them would have known better. Well, listen, if you know the rules and you don't follow the rules, then, you know, there are consequences. So Mary says, is only that one minister to blame for not changing the board, so question them all? Well, that board falls under him. So yes, he appoints those board members. And if he's fighting for them to remain in place, then yeah, then they what a mess. Somebody just sent me something about bananas. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there is not a possibility of getting, you know, some goods from these countries, but the other thing that you have to think very, very carefully about is the fact that if I'm say I'm a Foster's food fair, Foster's supermarket, right? And I have established relationship with existing vendors that I can count on when they have goods, they're reliable, we already have payment stuff worked out. Why would I be interested in trying to reestablish relations with people that I don't even know for a minimal or no real benefit at all? Like, what is the benefit? You're assuming that it's going to be cheaper. Has that been proven? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think the power might have, I think the generator might have kicked back in because I feel the AC blowing on me. So yeah. So I don't really know if that's how that works or not. Because again, none of those questions have been asked and answered to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I know for a fact that when you have a relationship with a vendor, I'm just a little peanut over here, right? And I have a couple of vendors that I deal with. When you find a good one, a lot of times you don't even want to chance anybody new, child, because you don't know if they're going to rip you off or what they're going to be doing or payment issues or, you know what I'm saying? So the government can be over there exploring all these options. And in the end, the importers say, we're not interested. You just wasted your time. So medical marijuana policy, here we go. Port. The APD, which is Acting Port Director, presented a proposed proposal with respect to staff who may be prescribed medical marijuana now that it has become legal for doctors to prescribe it as per Section 2 of the Misuse of Drugs Act. The APD pointed out that he had checked with POCs and central government, and they had no such policy. Poor them, behind in the times. He had taken legal advice, and I think this APD that they're referring to would have been Joseph Wood. He had taken legal advice with respect to the matter, and the proposal was based on that matter, I guess, in legal advice. All members, here we go again. Y'all paying attention? All members, with the exception of Mrs. Jacqueline Scott Rankin and Mr. Richard Parchment, were in agreement with the proposed policy. This is part of the reason, or this is the reason Joey Woods says that he has resigned, because everything Jacqueline Scott Rankin and Richard Parchment have to dissent on. The two of them are like they're on a frolic of their own. They have their own committee of their own. So once again, and y'all can go through the minutes and see every single time, all members with the exception of these two. The chairman, Mr. Eric Joseph, inquired if an indemnity could be added, and the APD stated that he would consult with PAC's attorney with respect to that. Ms. Scott Rankin and Mr. Parchment both stated that they wish to have more time to consider it, and the chairman agreed to giving them additional time to do so, after which a round-robin vote would be taken via email. I don't think that's ever been done. Because once again, Jacqueline Scott Rankin and Richard Parchment believe that they are the port directors, and they meddle a lot in the micromanaging of the port. And I can tell you that Jacqueline has a very close relationship with Donovan Hutchinson, who's supposed to be an accountant over there doing accounting work, and yet he's deputy something, 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 making more money than the acting port director. Now, he has dreams of sugar plums and a promotion. He wants to be one day the port director. That's interesting. And so there seems to be a lot of things afoot to give him all of this, put him on this subcommittee, give him all of this side experience and pull him into the inner circle so that one day he's going to get the job. Y'all need to look very closely at the relationship between Donovan Hutchinson and Jacqueline Scott Rankin. That's all I'm going to say. Jared, we better take a commercial break because, Lord, if I say anything else at this particular moment, the Cayman people are not going to be ready for it.
Crichton Properties is one of Cayman's most trusted real estate companies for over 50 years. We offer a diverse selection of property listings and help our clients navigate the world of buying or selling their properties with confidence. Crichton is a name you can trust with our excellent customer service and family-friendly touch. Contact us today to list your home, land, or condo for sale by calling 949-5250 or email info@crichtonproperties.com. Crichton Properties, a trusted Cereba member.
Yes, Jesus. Sometimes you gotta know when to close your mouth, y'all. Ay, what a mess. Oh, Shannon says that they're shipping women in, not food. Sherry Ann says she has a container that goes to Honduras. Well, it's not coming back with anything is the problem. So we can ship stuff out to them all we want. But that's not what we're talking about here, because they have a different set of border control things in place. We're talking about what's coming in. Johan is here saying that we're bad-minded because certain dudes need that type of thing. Uncle Clem. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, I would have loved to have seen a bit more about what sort of goods we're talking about importing and whether or not we had any concerns about supply chain issues, safety. Listen, right? We've seen America had some serious supply chain issues in recent times. Didn't really impact us too much, but there was the baby formula fiasco. There was a whole fiasco with feminine products for women recently, which I don't think has really impacted us at all. Thank the Lord for that. All the women in this country be like, honey, chill, right? But let me be very, very honest, folks. The chain supply issues are not limited to just America, right? So here we are saying, oh yes, let's develop alternative routes. In theory, I have no problem with this, with countries like Honduras. But when the shit hits the fan, who do you think has chain supply issues? It's not countries like Honduras first, right? Even Jamaica. I was reading up in recent times about the farmers and the food, whatever, and Jamaican government is like, we do not produce enough to be sustainable for our own people. We got 3 million people. So when you're talking about, well, Jamaica's going to help us with their food supply issues when they can't even supply it for themselves, makes me kind of wonder where you're getting your information from. Because that was in the news recently in Jamaica, where the prime minister was saying, if we lost our ability to import stuff from elsewhere, we could not survive on just what is produced here. And more people are trying to do their little backyard farming and see what they can produce because, you know, they recognize that around the world, inflation and everything else is going to lick us all. So Scott says, didn't Foster's and PDL, et cetera, already do this, exploring options? Wasn't there reporting on this like a month ago? Well, I don't recall if they've done it in quite the same way. But what I would say is that there are times that they get stuff from other places, and you just don't know it, Scott, or we, the consumers, just don't know it. Because even during COVID, remember, Mr. Woody Foster came on here and he said, listen, we have connections, and if we have to bring it through Mexico or wherever, we're doing that. So my concern is government is trying to get into a business that they know nothing about. What did they know about the import business? When did they become, importers? What makes them an expert? And there was not enough consultation and speaking with the experts before the trip, beforehand. And so that becomes a problem. That's when I say I use this fancy word, key stakeholders. That's who I'm talking about. The importers, the shippers, like everybody who's in that world. So I'm no expert. I'm just telling you some of the logical questions that I have in relation to trying to diversify and change up our importation of goods. And I didn't hear any answers or any discussion about it first. Yes, Miss Brenda, it looks like the power did trip in Shell. And I didn't even hear a little click or nothing. Seamless. Just gotta make sure you got propane in the tank, I guess. So Miss Brenda says, I'm gonna say it again, why Honduras, not Jamaica? No, they went to Jamaica already. They were in Jamaica just last month.
But Sandy, I thought the minister was in Honduras to look at land, not buying. I don't know, unless I've missed the memo, but
he buying land?
I don't know.
Where you got that from? No, sir. Land? Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else he might have been looking at.
But I mean land. I should clarify, meaning in terms of, just buying land to grow agriculture on.
No, we're going to get into buying land in a foreign country to grow agriculture? Are we crazy?
Crazy things have happened.
No, honey child. We can't even grow nothing in Cayman. Let's not get into that now.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing y'all be growing cocaine up in the bush. No. Don't fool with that. That ain't none of your business. Don't go and buy no land in nobody else's country. If you want to do farming here, if government wants to do government-sponsored farming, they can do it here. They couldn't even run a prison farm. I mean, how exactly is this going to work? They were allowing prisoners to kill people on the prison farm. And we must say, government, y'all go ahead and run a farm in Honduras? What a hot mess that would be. That'd be a trafficking. Oh, God, that'd be trafficking. I don't know how that would work out. Nat B says, are they going to do heightened security checks when produce comes in from these two ports who have a drug problem? Well, I hope to God they do. And not just a drug problem, but there's other things that can be smuggled. Drugs, weapons, people. Human trafficking is a big thing now. You saw those poor people the other day. What was the total number that died in Texas?
Like 40 something or something. It's
almost
a high number.
Yeah, trying to come in from Mexico, Guatemala, and other countries. Oh my God, those poor people. They basically suffocated in a trailer. Denny, good morning.
Buenos días.
Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás?
I'm in Cayman, by the way.
Oh, that's as much as you know, huh? Buenos días. Them Spanish people say you better learn. If you want to talk to us, you better learn to say "mommy." Good morning.
Morning, but I'm not sure why you're being a little pessimistic about
Denny.
Let me.
You know what? I just reminded. You know what? You know I have to go there. I was just having in my brain, somebody called me yesterday. They said, whenever you and Denny have conversations, you sound like an old couple talking. And I said, don't get it twisted now. Denny and I have been friends for a very long time. But Denny, when you just said Buenos Dias, this reminded me of our Cuban trip. Shall we tell the people how we went to Cuba? The very first time, folks, I went to Cuba. This was your first trip too, right? Both of us went to Cuba for the first time.
My only trip.
You've never been since?
Nope.
Oh, wow. Well, we decided to go on this adventure as friends. We went to Cuba. And honey child, poor Denny, his eyes, this is pre-marriage, but his eyes is looking at all these Spanish women. I remember Denny was quite taken aback by how beautiful he thought that they were. And so, Denny, do you remember when you and I remember that little area close to our hotel called La Rampa?
I don't remember that name, but like, what was it? What are you referring to?
It's just like the area close to I forget the name of the hotel. I'm envisioning it, but I can't remember the name of the hotel. But anyway, that little area is just called La Rampa, right? It's just what it's called. And across the way was the big ice cream parlor. Remember on Saturday how all the
Yes, I
Cuban people,
remember.
yes, they go
I
there and get
remember
because
that.
they
Yeah.
get subsidized ice cream and whatever. So Denny was stand up in the corner looking at all these beautiful Cuban women walking by. Oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. Look at this one, look at that one. And I remember saying to Denny, that's a man. And remember, you're like, no, that's not a man. I was like, Denny, that's a transvestite. And you swore me down. No, Sandra, that's a woman. And I said, really? Really? You can't see that that's a transvestite? You were swearing. And then remember when we finally sat down and spoke to the two guys who were tour guides. The one guy took us around a little bit. He was a translator for the Cuban government. Remember him and how he wanted to marry him? He wanted to literally marry me off the first time he met me. Buying me flowers at the dinner table. I was like, "Ooh, honey child, I don't know you." I was like backing up now. And then I was speaking to him about these beautiful women on La Rampa, and he confirmed that they were transvestites. Poor Danny was like, darn, let down.
That won't work on me anymore though.
Oh, now you know the difference.
So I hear you saying that we shouldn't consider buying land to farm in other countries.
Well,
I think that's actually a good idea.
Well, I think you need to know what you're doing. And my point is this
Well, I agree with that. That's a different
right.
issue.
And why do we think that our government, who can't even run a prison farm in Cayman, would be able to run a farm in Cuba?
Well, I agree with all of that. But the concept alone of owning land for the purposes of farming to feed your country, I think that's a good idea. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that the government needs to own it. It doesn't need to be like that. But in other words, if we're thinking about food security and the land is in the control of someone else and you don't know how they're going to act, that's unpredictable. If you had a situation where you had whether it was owned privately and there was some sort of contractual relationship about a priority of purchasing the products or something, I'm not saying specifically how it should be. I'm just saying that the idea of us looking to have places to grow food for the purposes of securing food for the country, I wouldn't pee on that too much.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying you have to do it the right way. Just like I'm saying, I have no issues with us exploring. I've said it before, I'm in full support of food diversification. I mean, any business owner will know you try to diversify when it comes to having options, right? But what I'm saying is if you're not even talking to your stakeholders before running on a trip, how educated of a decision are you potentially going to be making?
Well, I agree with that. And I am a little skeptical when governments want to do things themselves. But
especially when they're delving into an area that private sector has, for the most part.
And the truth of the matter is, it's not a whole lot of profit in farming, right?
Exactly.
So you have to be even more efficient.
Yes, even local farmers will tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
But the issue that we have in Cayman is that we don't have enough land and enough fertile soil to provide the food that we need. And so it's not a bad idea to say, well, could we somehow secure land somewhere else? I like that idea.
They better try and secure some land in Cayman for Caymanians. That would have better try and do. Anyway.
Well, no, but seriously, because and people might not take it seriously, but the food supply the cost of food is going to get ridiculous, because we don't know how long this war is going to last in Ukraine. And they supply a lot of the world's fertilizer.
Yep.
So that's going to have a major impact on the cost of food. That is also impacting the cost of fuel. To make it worse, you have governments around the world wishing to accelerate their move away from carbon fuels to renewables. Well, that's a good aspiration, but I think that the world needs to be a little more realistic in their thinking, because while moving away from fossil fuels would be a good idea, you can only do so at a rate that is successful. Otherwise, you're going to cause problems. And one of the problems that we're facing is that you have the president of the United States saying, he was shouting when he was running for office, shouting how he's going to shut down the petroleum industry. And they're saying there are countries who want to move to carbon zero by 2035. Now, it's very difficult to take infrastructure that was developed over the course of 200 years, which is fossil fuel, and replace it with something completely different in between now and 13 years. So that's excessively ambitious. Okay?
Let me ask you a question about exports. So Honduras exports everything from coffee and bananas. I think that's their primary ones. Shrimp, lobster, olive oil, and clothes. Their main export partner is the United States of America with 41% of total exports. Other countries include Mexico, Canada, Guatemala, El Salvador, and the European Union. Where do you think the Cayman Islands would be falling in the percentage of things that because we're such a small island nation, that we would even need from Honduras? And how realistic is it to think that if 41% of your goods are being sent to the United States of America, right? So this is my first question. How competitive can we be in saying, oh, instead of shipping even 5% of that to the US, let us have the opportunity to be able to bid on getting that directly here to the Cayman Islands? Well, what kind of bargaining power are we going to have is my question.
I think we can have lots of bargaining power, and the operative word that you used was bid. But do you want to be in a bidding war?
Well, I don't think
the goods.
I don't think that we could outbid the U.S. in any event.
I agree, and I don't think that's what they're going to want to do either. But keep in mind, if you have a lot of people bidding for scarce quantity of goods, the price is going to go up. So you would have to try to work out something in which you can get some amount. But this is why I like the idea of us securing land, so that we could say, okay, on this land we're going to grow so and so, and we know that because it's on land that either is owned by the government or owned by the government and leased to a private group to farm, or they own it and they have an agreement that they're going to ship the stuff to Cayman, then you kind of avoid that situation. That's why I like it. But I agree with you, just jumping up and rushing off there and saying, well, I don't know what he said actually.
Well, none of us do. But here's another question in terms of protocol. So I was having a discussion with a high-ranking government official, meaning civil servants, on this, about the protocols that are required for our government officials to go to Honduras, because there were some concerns that those protocols had also not been followed. So, when you enter another country and you're a minister of another country, they're supposed to know you're coming, and ministerial, like you get certain clearances. It's kind of like, we're talking about the potential of Mia Motley coming to Cayman. She doesn't just jump up and get on a plane and come here. right?
Right.
If she's coming, we
Right.
need to go through her cabinet, and there may be a
There's
cabinet
an
secretary.
agency of government
Yes.
designed
Diplomacy,
for that
bunch of
purpose.
stuff.
Yeah, right. And it seems like sometimes our government officials do not understand, or they don't respect that process. And that's problematic. I even understand that the former Honduras guy, well, now he's going to jail, the one who's been arrested by the Americans for drug trafficking and all this stuff, president of Honduras. Even when he traveled to Cayman, he came with his entourage, went through the correct protocols. This is a man who's being accused of not following at least money laundering and drug trafficking laws, but at least he knows a thing or two about protocols. And he also travels with a body double because he was high risk in terms of being potentially executed. So his body double was actually his brother, because they look so much
Wow.
alike that they couldn't tell if it was him or the brother that they might have been killing, right? So he was going to take a 50-50 chance, and he traveled with his brother as his body double. That's what he was getting paid for.
But don't they have video conferencing in Honduras?
In this day and age, yes, but I don't know. Anyway, we'll continue to wait for some additional information from this government and how the Honduras trip went. And we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think I like the idea that he is focusing on the seriousness of it, because I think that we haven't seen the worst of what it can be.
Oh no,
So,
and let's be honest, Honduras itself imports a lot of their own goods and so forth. So, we need to understand how the export and import market and how goods are moved around the world. And when
it'll be limited what you can get.
yeah, and not only that, Denny, but when you have countries like in Asia, remember a couple months ago I talked about what countries was it? India and a few other countries that actually stopped the export of things like wheat and rice and green and all this kind of stuff. They're the source, right, of a lot of those goods. They're exporting billions of tons of whatever, metric tons all over the world. So when it stopped at the source, whether that be in Asia, half around the world, Ukraine, Russia, whatever, the trickle down effect is, even if we thought we could get it from Honduras cheaper in an ideal situation, when the world is in a bit of a tipsy-turvy and everybody's feeling inflation, all these other things, Honduras might not be as inclined to export much of anything to us, because they're going to be needing it themselves.
That's a legal point that you would need to work out if you were to buy land for the purposes of exporting to Cayman. So
Anyway,
you might want to have that.
It's really interesting. The other thing is the food safety and inspection process. So a lot of people have said, well, even the food that we're getting from the US comes by way of Honduras, but we are also relying on the US and their FDA protocols and their food and safety inspection services to actually clear it for us, so that when it comes here, we have fewer concerns, because we can see the dangers of things like the mealybug importation and other things that can easily come in. Where do you think these invasive iguanas came from that are in this country right now?
Not only that,
Honduras,
but yes, but Honduras has some serious poisonous snakes.
Hello. And trust me, we saw just the other day the poor little what was it that came that we had to track him down? The ones that got in the container at Foster's West Bay.
I think DOE would kill me. It's
No. No, listen. What were they called again? Help me out here. Where's my listeners? The cute little things. We think they're cute, but they have rabies sometimes. Raccoons, yes. So we inadvertently imported 2 raccoons. Thank you, El Ray and Denny, in a container, and Foster's had to destroy the entire container. Lost the whole thing. Yeah. Right? Now that one slipped through. So trust me, we don't know what else might be coming.
There's flies and bugs and all sorts of things that would be detrimental. That
we're trying to keep out of this country. By the way, Denny, before I let you go, I need to give Denny a big shout out. Denny, thank you for coming to my rescue over the last couple of days. Denny has come after I was complaining online about these iguanas. He came in and got 2 iguanas, one on, I think it was Saturday, and then he came back yesterday for the little teenage one and got him as well, because he was kind of hiding on Saturday when Denny came. And then he went up in Marlon's garden trying to eat the garden stuff. And I said, Denny, come for him. Come for him, honey child. He's scared. He's scared. The poor helper heard her outside screaming. I was like,
But I thought you were going to cook him.
Not me. No, honey child. Put him in the garbage bin. But thank you very, very much, Iguana Catcher. Call Denny if you got any iguanas around the place, Jill. He come and shoot them for you. All right, Denny.
Take care.
Have
Thanks,
a good one.
bye.
So yes, we had one big iguana in the tree. He was hanging out like, oh, about to drop some more eggs out of the bushes. But yeah, I mean, this is a concern. There are safety concerns, food inspection and safety. And how do we ensure that? I mean, just the other day, I had people in the BRAC complaining about, CBC not having, not CBC, my apologies, DEH actually, not having enough people on the BRAC to inspect food. And it was sitting there, because of the shortage of staff, because somebody had COVID and came in BRAC that normally would do it. Somebody else was sick and they didn't send anybody over there. It was just a hot mess. And so as a result of that, food that was being sent to the BRAC was spoiling at the port of entry because there was no DH inspector to sign off on it. Y'all need to really be thinking about a lot of the logistics of this stuff. You got to talk about, everything. Preservatives being used, the chemicals being used. Some ingredients will actually make food unhealthy and unwholesome, and you don't even want to use it for human consumption. So there's a lot that has to be figured out. Our cancer is high enough.
Yeah, and if the minister was looking to CARICOM, which already has countries who are already familiar with people to really get something going, yeah, that would be more tangible because we know CARICOM, everybody's majority is English speaking. But this one seems like a very high risk. It's high risk.
So Jonathan says, yeah, I mean, you always have to look at the risk versus the reward. For every single thing, there's pros and cons. And sometimes the risk does not make any sense in terms of the reward that you're seeking to get at the end. And that is why in the world of business, okay, politicians, y'all pay attention now, because most of y'all have never even owned a decent business in your life. And if you had a business, you weren't paying staff, you weren't paying pensions, you're running it into the ground. You do something called a SWOT analysis. You heard of this, young Jared?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yes. And in your SWOT analysis, you put together a business case. And that allows you to see whether or not this is actually going to be a viable thing for you. But listen, you do this early on. It's the first thing you kind of do before you go too far down the road. Because then you're expending money and stuff for you to then figure out later on that, oh, this actually isn't going to work for us at all. Don't waste money. We ain't got time for that. Do your SWOT analysis first. And then if you see that there are more opportunities than threats, there are more strengths than weaknesses, then you can justify a trip to start talking to some of the other stakeholders. But in order for you to do your SWOT analysis, you would have needed to speak to stakeholders in the Cayman Islands and the Caymans first. Jonathan says, I'm not religious, but all this suffering around the world is biblical. No, it's not. People have been suffering from the world first formed before, when the dinosaurs suffered a mass extinction. So it's just life. You know what I'm saying? There's always been plagues and stuff going on. And in fact, there's no better time to be alive now in the history of the world. We got life-saving, you get penicillin, you got all kind of vaccines that have prolonged your life. You're going to live longer now than ever. And they say at some point in the future, you can actually, they're pushing humankind to maybe make it to 130 years. Imagine that. People living longer than ever. They have the best healthcare options. Yes, it's not always evenly distributed. That's true. But it certainly depends on where you live and who you are. And it's still better than it used to be. So Jonathan doesn't agree, chill. That's all right, Jonathan. Cameron says, behave, Sandy. Teach, yes. I'm just saying. Miss Barbara, good morning. Says hydroponic farming is quite possible here. Yeah, I mean, I think that we need to explore. Ms. Darlene's asking about all the land in the eastern districts. We can explore a bit more here, but as Denny said, make no two bones about it. We have, remember when we went out to the farm there, what's it called again? The farm in Northside, right? Farming isn't cheap, okay? And it's not as profitable. This is the one that's helping recovered addicts and ex-convicts and stuff like that. They can work on the farm. It's a good social program, really, right?
No,
But let's be very, very clear here. Farming is not a big money-making business. It really isn't. Everybody thinks like, oh, everything you do, you make tons of money. In some businesses, the margin is so tight that if you had any sense, you wouldn't even get in the business. Miss Nola Sanderson says, I think most people commenting here don't understand. As the owner of a small business that operates a business importing, distributing produce, etc., the DOA restrictions hinder the imports of many products from both Jamaica and Honduras. I think the minister is exploring the possibility of relaxing these restrictions as he did recently to Jamaica. And as a result of his trip, we're now able to import more. FYI, most of what you purchase at the farmer's market and roadside vendors are imported. DOA restrictions. What kind of restrictions are we talking about? Because a lot of times those restrictions have been put in place for a reason. So sometimes you loosen these restrictions and it's going to come back and bite you in the rear end. Anthony says, teach them, Sandy. SWOT analysis, hashtag accountability. Who was it earlier that was saying that government officials, you know, are not necessarily equipped to run their portfolios? That was Truth. What was it? He's on YouTube. Which one was that? I can't remember now. But you know, these are the things that, again, when y'all go out there voting for elected officials, these are some of the things that you really need to be considering. What is this person actually going to bring to the table? Do they have any history of successes that we can say, they have demonstrated that they understand the world of business. They have demonstrated that they have done something successful in their life. And so we have hope as a people that they can apply those same basic skills to managing the affairs of the people of this country who are paying them a nice hefty salary to be able to do so. Right? That's why we shouldn't be hiring drunks and whoremongers and all this other stuff, because they're preoccupied with living a very different lifestyle than being about the people's business. It is a sacrifice to get into politics and focus on that and actually do a good job. But a lot of people get into it for the wrong reason. They want position and title and power and the ability to travel on the people's dime. And we, the people, are not asking the right questions and don't have enough expectations of them. Well, that has to change. Gabby says, Sandy, what happens in Cuba stays in Cuba, child. That was one of the highlights of my trip. Denny looking at transvestites and not even knowing it. He was like, they're so beautiful. I was like, oh, you men. Oh, God. I was like, Denny, please, that's a man. No, it's not. He trying to tell me. I'm like, okay, you go right ahead, because I ain't going to be bailing you out of no Cuban jail. But, you know, Cuba had, they may still do, had very, very strict, you couldn't as a Cuban be coming into no hotels now. They're like, no. You stay over there, over by the ice cream parlor. That's why they're up and down on La Rampa, walking up and down in the high heels. But you can't come inside the hotel because they wasn't allowing that kind of shenanigan. So Jonathan feels away. He says, I keep calling out the men as if they were bad. What about all them women when their husbands come home from sea? But I mentioned that already. I'm not trying to discriminate against you men. It takes two to tango. So I get it. You can't be a whoremonger if you're not got a whore on the other side. We get it. It's a mutual. Listen, adults, you are free to do as you choose up to a certain point once it's legal. And we know that a lot of men are just in a better financial position to pay for these things, pay to have a pretty wife. And, you know, even the women who can afford it are trying to get in on it too. Some of them getting them some nice young Spanish things that do. Lucia says, Sandy, I love you. I hire you grooming. I laugh out loud when Boris is talking and said he'll say he'll to Jerry. I miss him on the show. Oh, Jared, I'm sorry he's not here. He's here now, child. Came in late, but he's here. What should I say about leave Frank alone, girl? You know, just sit in the kitchen and caught They are going to ship you out. I'm a Caymanian child. They can't ship me nowhere. And remember now, I'm not one of those Nowarians, you know. I don't have to get a certificate to tell me that I'm a Caymanian. I was here before them days. Too much nepotism and favoritism, says Miss Brenda, not B. Says, yes, I think we read that one about heightened security. Daniela says, don't forget the Intertrust employee cocaine bust. Whatever happened to that case? Child, rich people get a different kind of justice. So yesterday we were talking about, remember the lawyer, David Marshall? We were talking about him and how his entitled and being able to hire a good lawyer, because you got to be able to hire good lawyers, honey child. They make all kind of stuff disappear. So this guy, he got a slap on the wrist. This is the Intertrust man. He got a slap on the wrist and he left the jurisdiction, went about his business. He actually went to the US, got in trouble for not paying a taxi driver the cab fare when he went to the US, was arrested for that. I think that was like a misdemeanor, theft or whatever. And for years, can I tell you something about the Intertrust guy? For years, he used to message me and call, and then I think even the wife reached out. Can you take this article down? Because this is impacting his ability
Healthy
to...
Life app is now
sorry.
my HSA.
I'm trying to look for it. This is impacting his ability to get a job, even in the US or wherever it was he had ran off to. And I said, what does that have to do with me? Please, can you take it down? And I said, here's the thing, right? If I take down this article, this is when this is May of 2018. I said, if I took down this article about this Intertrust director being arrested at work, because child, even back then we had all the video footage, the sniffer dogs with the drugs, everything. If I were to take that down, Ryan Schroeder was his name. That means that I would take down every article that reflected poorly on someone, including the little Caymanians who get arrested for drugs and everything else that they're doing. And so that can't work. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm sorry that he made some poor decisions and that he had an addiction problem, evidently, a little coke problem. But that has nothing to do with my reporting, because everything I reported was factual. He was arrested and he was charged with cocaine. And like I said, got himself a nice fancy lawyer here in the Cayman Islands who could go before a judge and make some kind of fancy argument, right? And so that meant that he got a slap on the wrist here. And, it was not a big deal. Child. But for years, this man was like, can you take it down, please? They'd be begging me to even come talking about, they'll even pay me to take stuff down. I said, hold on now. Y'all need to go and take several seats. That's not how that's going to work. You don't pay nobody at CMR to have a story taken down, honey chill. Poor him. I wonder whatever happened to him. Well, he left the jurisdiction with nothing but a little blip on his record, and he'll be fine. Oh, we have a spammer in the chat. Let me block them. Oh, good grief. Let's see. Scott says, is the deputy governor a lifetime appointment? Well,
it is not.
But I guess once you get it, it'd probably take a lot like any other civil servant job to get you out of there. And Mr. France Manderson is reaching that age now.
Getting up there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a civil servant since he was 16 years old.
Can you imagine that?
I know, right?
Not me, boy.
France has now got to be, I would say, in his 50s. So he is getting to the stage, and people are already talking about it, about when's he going to retire? What's he going to do? People said the last time he came on the show, he sounded like a politician. And so people are thinking, when is he going to retire? So I think it's coming sooner rather than later. Now, there's also been a rumor afoot since you brought it up. Who brought it up? That was
Scott EB or something.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Scott. Since you brought it up, Scott, I'm gonna go there. Y'all ready for some inside sauce? Here you know. There's been a lot of rumors afoot about when France does retire, who's going to replace him. And there's been rumor that one person who is earmarked for it, a certain female, took a test and she didn't do well. And then another guy who's a high-ranking civil servant who's always had some controversy swirling around him, and a lot of people don't really like him, that he did amazingly well, and so he's going to be getting it. I have checked that story out, and I have been told by my official, unofficial sources that that is not true. There's been no recruitment exercise that has started because France hasn't resigned. There has been, no test given to anybody. Like, I have been told, despite hearing that rumor more than once, that that story is not true. France hasn't resigned and blah, blah, blah. But the streets are talking that it's coming. And the streets are also talking that France might be looking at a political seat in the District of West Bay. He himself has said he has not even thought about that yet. He's not even resigned, and he's not thought about anything in the world of politics. He's said, Sandy, in my life, I know already, you never say never. But that's not where my head is at. So we shall see.
But he has a favorite though.
A favorite what? Person
Chief
to replace
officer. Yeah, he has a favorite chief officer.
Well, I think the truth of the matter is France goes to bat for his civil servants. So who do you think his favorite chief officer is? A man or a woman?
It's a woman. It's a woman. It's the lady that always been stepping in for him.
Well, who
Miss McPhail, that one.
Well, you see, you say that, but that's not even who I was thinking. So I don't.
Who you were thinking?
No, I mean, this is my. Is that he goes to bat for his civil servants? So people would probably say, people would claim that his favorite is Eric Bush. People, there are people who would beat you up for that with one piece of cocoa bread.
I'm sorry, if he gets it,
people would say that. Oh, what's the lady's name? She works under the premier's office now. She's the chief officer over there.
Ahern.
Jennifer Ahern. A lot of people say that that's his favorite. So I think no, but I'm just saying France, and I'm sure there'll be a proper recruitment process with a panel.
And to be fair, that's one thing about France. He always fights. The way he fight for his civil service, if he could do that, that would have been nice. But
yes,
let me not be facetious.
Cameron says I need to smack myself to make sure Sandy's really trying to make us pass out this. Ooh, at some point, we need to have a conversation about the pay scale for chief officers and what they're actually doing, because chief officers make a pretty penny. And there's a lot of concerns about what they're delivering for that pretty penny. But y'all not ready for that conversation yet. And we only have a couple seconds left in the show. So thank y'all for tuning in this morning. How was it? I had a good time. Miss Brenda says he's not yet 60. He's getting there. A couple more seconds and we're going to be ending the program. Woo, Jared, some days. What a mess.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.
All right, honey child. Here it is, troublemaker Johan. How do I apply for the GG role? He says I can't do any worse than his favorite successor and protege, no sir. And I can tell you that he not talking about who you think is his favorite. I'm telling you, a lot of people say he had just different favorites. Miss Brenda says that grooming has been done for a long time. An unqualified person, however. Gloria McField Nixon is the woman for the job. Plus, she's a Caymanian. Now I see a riot coming with this one. Oh, Lord. Yes, sir. Susan says, hello, Jared. Anthony says, conversation getting hot in here, but I got to go, folks. Chamber luncheon is today. At 10 o'clock, we actually have there's a press conference from tourism. I don't know why they had it today, knowing that the chamber luncheon is like at 12. But anyway, we will be live streaming both of them. So I'm going to get off so that the live stream for the chamber luncheon can start. So just flip over to that feed. It'll be coming up here shortly. Jared and everybody else, y'all have a fantastic day.